Okay, in this video it's going to be more of what we were doing in 5.1, except this time we're actually going to have an equation. We are going to verify that one side equals the other. Notice I have, say, pick one side of the equation and prove it equals the other side. We are going to work with one side only at a time. Do not add, subtract, multiply, divide things anywhere to the other side. We're just going to be simplifying one side to make sure it equals the other side. So here we go. Alright, so again, you guys may need to watch this video a few times. Pause it, rewind it, try to understand things, write questions off to the side in your notes, and come ask me in class. This stuff may take you a little bit longer to understand than some of the stuff that we've done in the past. So with this one, I'm trying to prove, this will say verify, that secant squared times 1 minus cosine squared theta is equal to tangent squared theta. I will tell you that to start out with, it is going to be easier to simplify the stuff or the side with more things on it than it will be to create things. So in this one, I see that my left-hand side has more stuff with it, and I know that 1 minus cosine squared, well, that's my Pythagorean identity, that's sine squared. So this is secant squared theta times sine squared theta equals tangent squared theta. I'm not going to copy it down, I'm just going to write equals. And I know secant is 1 over cosine squared, sine squared. Well, hey, oh, there pretty much it is. Because if I multiply those two things, then I come out with sine squared theta over cosine squared theta. And then, hey-oh, tangent squared theta equals tangent squared theta. Yay, I have proved it. I have verified this identity. I want to see every single step. Do not skip steps. You are verifying, you are proving that it is true. Obviously, we know that we are going to come out with tangent squared equals tangent squared because I know it equals tangent squared, right? So don't just make up a bunch of junk in the middle and then right at the end tangent squared equals tangent squared. You're not getting any points. Sorry, bud. Okay, take the steps, write it out very tediously so that I understand you are verifying what I am asking you to verify. All right, with this one, again, our left side has more junk on this. So I can say cosecant is 1 over sine minus cosine, I'll leave it like that, times cotangent is cosine over sine equals the other side. Cool. Yay, happy day. So then 1 over sine minus cosine squared over sine, if you multiply those. Yay, I have like denominators already. Yay, happy day. Oh, yay. Oh, it's so pretty. Yay. Sine, do. And I know 1 minus cosine squared is sine squared theta. So I can say this is sine squared theta over sine theta equals the other side. And hey-oh, squared divided by sine is just sine theta equals sine theta. And happy day, it is verified. All right, we got another one. I only have 1, 2, 3, 4 more for you guys, so we're almost there. So here, the left side has more stuff. I want it to come out as 2 cosecant theta. Well, I know in order to even add these things together, I have to have common denominators, so I'll multiply this one by sine over sine, and the other one by 1 minus cosine over 1 minus cosine, such that I have sine squared plus 1 minus 2 cosine theta plus cosine squared. All of that over the common denominator of sine theta times 1 minus cosine theta. Okay, if you're asking yourself where all that stuff came from, make sure you write a note off to the side. Pretty much all that I did, I multiplied sine times sine to get sine squared, and then I multiplied 1 minus cosine times 1 minus cosine to get 1 minus 2 cosine plus cosine squared. What? Well, multiply 1 minus, distribute 1, cosine, cosine, and then you'll come out and it'll simplifies that. And then it's over the common denominator. So now with this, just like we had 1 in 5.1, cosine plus sine is 1. So I have 1 plus 1 is 2 minus 2 cosine theta, all over sine theta times 1 minus cosine theta equals the other side. And check it out, 2 minus 2 cosine is kind of close to 1 minus cosine, except this has a 2 on top. So if I factor out that 2, I have 1 minus cosine theta over sine theta 1 minus cosine theta equals, well, 1 minus cosine divided by 1 minus cosine is 1. So I'm left with 2 over sine theta equals, well, I'm trying to get to 2 cosecant theta. I know 1 over sine theta is cosecant, so 2 over sine theta must be 2 cosecant. Yay! All right, here we go. This one's fun. I like this one. It's super exciting. So I need a common denominator. Common denominator. Common denominator. Consistent theta minus 1. Consistent theta minus 1. Yes. Depresses. Plus 1. Plus 1. Plus 1. Consistent theta plus 1. Yes. I wonder if they can even hear that. George Lucas. Bananas and pajamas are running down the stairs. Theta minus 1 plus cosecant theta. Man, I cannot see theta plus 1. Okay, all over the common denominator. If you multiply these out, cosecant squared plus cosecant minus 1. So I have cosecant squared theta minus 1 equals the other side. Okay, on top, I have minus 1 plus 1 makes 0. So I have 2 cosecant theta over cosecant squared theta minus 1 is tangent squared theta. No, it's not. It's cotangent squared theta. Yeah, cotangent squared theta. Sorry, I had to think about that way too long. Yay. Okay. You're a cheater! Call me a cheater. Cotangent squared theta is the same thing as cosine over sine squared theta, so this is 2, 1 over sine theta over cosine squared theta over sine squared theta. And if we are dividing fractions, you flip the bottom one and multiply. So this is sine squared over cosine squared and sine squared over cosine squared. Yay, equals. Well, cosine squared divided by cosine squared is 1. Sine squared divided by sine squared is 1. Yes, sine squared divided by sine is 1 sine on top. So I'm left with 2 times sine theta over cosine squared equals. All right, and I'm trying to get to 2 secant squared sine theta. Well, I know 1 over cosine squared is secant squared, and then sine is just sine, so there it is. 2 secant squared theta. Oh, yeah! All right. I got 5 minutes. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so with this one, I noticed that that is a difference of squares. Just like if we had x squared minus 16, we could factor it as x plus 4 times x minus 4. Right? Difference of squares. Difference of squares. Yay! Because cosine squared times cosine squared is cosine to the 4th. Sine squared times sine squared is sine to the 4th. It has a minus in the middle, so it is a difference of squares. So this will schmactor. Cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta times cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta equals the other side. Well, hey-oh, that's my Pythagorean identity, so that's just 1. So I'm just left with this, so cosine squared theta minus sine squared theta. Oh, look, that's the other side. I'm done. Yay. Bless you. You're going to be sneezing so many times. People are going to rewind this and then play it back just to hear you sneeze over and over and over. All right, with this one, we have fractions on both sides. Come on!
All
right.
We're just having our own conversation, like with our eyes while you were talking.
Yeah. Fractions on both sides. So this one, I have tangent and secant. On the right-hand side, I have cosine and cosine. So cosine and cosine is a little bit more simple than tangent and secant. So I'm going to change tangent squared and secant. So this will be sine squared x over cosine squared Hey McKenna, you know what's going to be really trippy is that you're going to be watching this video even though you're in my class right now while I'm making this video. So you're going to hear me talking about how you were in class and you're going to be like, hi, I was there. Good response. Okay, cool. So there is our substitution. So on bottom, I need to have common denominators in order to add these things. So I can change this by multiplying by cosine over cosine. So this is cosine x over cosine x. So then I will simplify that to be sine squared over cosine squared over cosine plus 1 over cosine equals call. And then I'm dividing fractions, so I will multiply by the reciprocal on top and bottom. So now, cosine divided by cosine makes 1, cosine plus 1 divided by cosine plus 1 makes 1, cosine divided by 2 of them makes 1 cosine on bottom. So I'm left with sine squared over cosine times cosine plus 1. Okay, well notice on this right-hand side over here, you have 1 minus cosine over cosine. And down here I'm left with sine squared. So I know I need to get rid of that sine squared because I only have cosines on the right-hand side. So in order to get rid of that, I can use my Pythagorean identity and say that this is 1 minus cosine squared over cosine times cosine x plus 1 equals. The top is a difference of squares, so I will factor that. Okay, thank you. So you can say 1 plus cosine x times 1 minus cosine x all over cosine times cosine plus 1 equals. And now we're almost done. So all you have to do is 1 plus cosine divided by cosine plus 1 is just 1. So we have 1 minus cosine x over cosine equals the other side. Whew. Rewatch this. Please, rewatch it like 20 times.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so with this one, I have probably the harder side is the right-hand side, left-hand side. A la izquierda, por favor. So I can change tangent into sine over cosine over sine plus cosine equals, well, if I want to add those things on top, I need common denominators. So I will change that into cosine over sine. Or sorry, cosine over cosine, because that's the same thing as 1. Yes!
Oh my god.
Okay, and then we have cosine theta plus sine theta over cosine, all divided by sine theta plus cosine theta equals cosine plus sine divided by cosine plus sine is 1, so I'm left with 1 over cosine equals, which is secant equals secant. Yes. Okay, like seriously you guys, make sure that you watch this video 15, 20, 30 times, however many times you need to make sure it makes sense to you. Memorize your identities. If you don't, you will fail. Not trying to be rude or anything, but just being honest. Love you guys, but I don't want you to fail, so make sure you memorize your identities, do everything you're supposed to. Come ask me questions, and I will be your best friend. So